Hello everyone. Today's video we're going to be doing another unique approach called an overhead or brake approach. This is the approach that basically you need to get on the ground in an incredible hurry. You're in visual conditions and you know what the heck, we're just going to make sure we get this plane down on the ground basically as fast as we can. Over here in beautiful central Connecticut here, we're going to be flying into Hartford. This is real world weather in case anybody wants to kind of play along with us sort of a thing. And we're going to be demonstrating this approach without any air traffic control or anything like that. So basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be flying an entire flight plan, an entire an entire traffic pattern in one place. So basically the goal here is to basically take up the least amount of distance laterally to get yourself on the ground in the fastest fashion possible. So what makes this one kind of tricky for those of you who are new is basically you're going to have very, very tight control of the aircraft speed throughout the entire part of the pattern so that when you come out of it, you don't exceed the speed on the flaps and you don't do anything dangerous such as, exceeding, the speed of like your maneuvering speed or anything like that. But basically all you do is fly the traffic pattern as if it was a regular one in a straight on approach, but at the last second, stay at your traffic pattern altitude and then do a gigantic spiral downwards with the end of the spiral resulting in you basically positioning yourself right where you need to at the end of the runway. Now, this is super duper fun if you've not gotten a chance to fly this one. I'm looking at my little barometric pressure here going, oh boy. Of course, there's a nice crosswind today, which makes this very, very exciting. So there's our runway right over our nose right there. I'm going to go ahead and kick the speed in, keep this nice and fast. And like I said, basically all you do is fly over the end of the runway at traffic pattern altitude. Then you're going to fly the entire pattern in a giant spiral. And if you do everything well, you should basically find yourself directly over the ground at the end of the runway, properly configured for landing the plane, all in one whack. Now, what makes this really, really fun, by the way, is when you do it in a plane like this is a Cirrus SR-22, you can do everything in seconds, but it does require a little bit of hand-eye coordination because you do have to slow down, otherwise you're going to damage the plane. So I'm going to make sure everything's all kind of squared away here. I've got myself basically at cruise power here. I'm going to go ahead and start setting all my elevator trim and make sure everything is perfectly ready to go. Traffic pattern altitude at Hartford, by the way, is 1,018 feet, so I'm a little bit high. You can actually see the big old runway 20 right over the end there. So I'm just going to come down just a tiny bit. And like I said, we're going to try to get ourselves nice and trimmed out. Like a real-world Cirrus, you can never get this thing trimmed out. It's actually mechanically and mathematically impossible, I've decided. But you can see my approach speed now is a staggering 163 knots. It's just amazing to think we're going to be doing 75 and putting this thing on the ground smoothly with flaps deployed in the time it's going to take to go ahead and get us to the end of the runway. All right, there's our beautiful runway. Like I said, we're going to be at traffic pattern altitude for this first half. Once you cross the end of the runway, you begin that left spiral. Basically, each turn you make is another notch of flaps all the way down to the ground. Now, if you're doing this with an aircraft that has landing gear as opposed to flaps, you kind of got to be careful because, as you'll discover the hard way, you don't want to overspeed anything when you take these turns. So 160 is more than quick enough for this particular operation, but like you said, we'll slow down very, very quickly once the process starts. So there's traffic pattern altitude. You can see I'm about 1,020, 1,019 feet, right around there. Like I said, we're just going to fly over pretending we're just ignoring the runway. By the way, in the real world, make sure you request the overhead approach before you attempt this. You don't want to just do a straight in and then decide to do an overhead approach at the end. Apparently, they don't like that. I don't know what the deal with that is. All right, we're just about to the end of the runway. I'm going to go ahead and pull the throttle all the way back to zero. We need to start decelerating immediately. So there's the runway. Again, we're not going to do anything until we pass over the end of the runway, and then we're going to begin our maneuvering. Slowing down nice and gentle. Slowing down. Oh, I love this. This is so much fun to try. There we go. We're over the runway now. So now we're going to go ahead and pull the aircraft into a very tight turn. In a Cirrus, of course, you're allowed to bring that first notch of flaps down. So we're going to go pull this tight. Again, you're trying to lose altitude at the same time. We're going to pull this back hard. We're now going into our base leg. We're going to bring down that next notch of flaps. If you're on an aircraft that does, of course, have themselves some of those lovely landing gear, go ahead and bring them down. If this were a Cessna 172, you'd want to go ahead and bring that last notch of flaps now. We're going to go ahead and pull this one in, pull this one in, pull this one in. Go give ourselves a little bit of slip, a little bit of slip. There's our lovely runway. We're going to hold that slip in for just a moment here, fly the plane a little sideways. We're going to swing around. And we're going to land on the big number 20. Well, not really. I don't want to go boing, boing all the way down the runway. And we're down. That's it. So that is an overhead approach. It's absolutely a blast. The key elements there is make sure you don't overspeed the aircraft at any part during that turn. Make sure you slow down in time so that you don't use up 99% of the runway here. And as you can see, I actually hit it within the 1,000, just about past the 1,000 footers. So with a little bit more practice, I think I would have been able to get it inside of the 1,000 footers with this plane. Now, if you really want to have fun, try doing this in a 747. Other than that, enjoy.